how do you not make the playoff last year? How do you lose the Pop-Tart Bowl when you have the best offense in the country, the best quarterback in the country?
Does Miami make the playoffs this year?
100%. Yes. I like this offense more than last year.
I just don't trust Mario to win that one game you need that's going to keep you out or in the college football playoff. You can recruit all the best players in the world, but unless you can coach them to a championship, doesn't really matter. So he can keep losing those games and just not do anything.
I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit. I just don't see the hype just yet to talk about playoff. You guys were worried about bowl game eligibility, so let's calm down here.
I just don't see Florida State returning to what they were with Jimbo.
Welcome to the show. Today we are going to discuss the week 2 results. Florida State winning 77-3, Miami winning 45-3, and the Gators being upset by USF 18-16. We're going to get in and debate this, where the programs are at. This is a fan debate show. So each week on Sunday after college football Saturday, we're going to bring in panelists from the fan bases in the state of Florida, Florida State, Miami, and Florida to discuss the issues and debate the issues that are ongoing between the programs and the never-ending debates between the fan bases. So before we get into the debate, I want to introduce our panelists. On the we have 2 FSU panelists and 2 Miami panelists. The FSU panelists we have are Noah and Kevin. Noah and Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
And then on the side, we have Brandon and Chris. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
And my name's Christian. I'll be moderating today's debate. So the first topic I want to discuss, and really it wasn't on the docket today, Florida upset at home by USF. I think they were an 18.5-point favorite, and they lose 18-16. Normally, I would want to have a UF panelist on here to debate this, but this is just such a big story that I feel like we have to address it. So I want to start with you, Chris. What are your thoughts after taking in that result, and how do you feel about the Gators program and Billy Napier moving forward?
If I was a UF fan, I'd be calling for his head. He should be, and at least in my opinion, given the talent that they have, Lagway at QB, it's that type of loss is inexcusable. It's not like on that last drive, you have the lead, close it out, 2 minutes, stupid penalties. And it's not that like those penalties really made a big difference, which they did, but on the plays where there were no penalties, USF drove the ball down their throat with no issues. How that happens at home in the swamp versus a team like USF, that can't happen. And I think UF is in big trouble. They lost that game. You look ahead. Next week, they're at LSU. After that, they're at Miami. After that, they have Texas. After that, they have Texas A&M. I don't see a win there. If they play like that, I do not see a win. So the outlook for UF football, it's not great in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. The physicality and the line of scrimmage, that was very shocking to me to see the gaps that the offensive line was creating for USF. And I think they outrushed the Gators in the game, which, I mean, that should never happen at UF when you have the talent you have. Brandon, what are your thoughts overall on that game, and what are the big takeaways for you?
Yeah, I think I agree a lot of what Chris mentioned. The team it looked like they didn't play with any sort of urgency. I feel like UCF beat them to the punch, beat them at the line of attack a lot of times. And I think UCF is a real threat this year in a way. They looked really strong, week 1, week 2. They've got some matchups against next week. So I think that'll be a challenge for the Canes. But ultimately, I think that the Gators are in trouble. I think that Napier is definitely on the hot seat. And I think he could have gotten canned a couple of years ago. And Lagway's kind of saved his job a couple of years. But I think if they have a bad year and, that momentum starts to die down, they'll definitely move on from him.
Kevin, your thoughts on Nape and the Gators program after taking in that data point yesterday?
Yeah, so I don't really understand Napier. He recruits well. He can look competitive in the big games, and then he'll lose a game like this. And then, everyone likes to clown on UF. So he just really confuses me. I can never know which way the season's going to go with him. The biggest point I saw from the game was when they had the safety. It was an error from the long snapper, and the announcer said he's one of the best long snappers in America.
In the country.
And so to make that mistake, and those are the 2 points you lose by, is like, those are the things you have to clean up if you're UF in the SEC. Like, you can't make those mistakes against USF. So, yeah, they just got a lot to clean up. So, yeah, I don't know where their season's going to go because, like Chris said, their schedule does not look good at all for them.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the special teams. They had a drive that they got off the field. It's 4th down, but on that 4th down, they had 12 men on the field that extended a drive. They got a 1st down, allowed USF to continue and go down. And so that was crazy to see. The penalties were just unbelievable. Over 100 yards of penalties. Noah, I know you didn't catch the end of the game, but just your thoughts on Napier and the Gators moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just embarrassing. I mean, Florida's supposed to have the best team in the state this year, and just after their performances, where they started with Long Island, okay, and now you lose to USF. No one saw that coming. He's got all the talent. I mean, it's got to come down to coaching, and he's just not getting it done and doesn't have control of his team, giving up all those penalties at the end of the game, not calling those timeouts. I didn't watch the game, but I just heard, and it's just embarrassing. And all the fans, I saw a video of the fans leaving the stadium chanting "Fire Billy, Fire Billy." Like, I think he's just lost Gainesville. He's lost the team. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got canned mid-season given their schedule. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was the final nail in the coffin for Billy. I think he lost a lot of the fan base last year. He got a good percentage of them back on board, but I think this game he's just lost the fan base. I think it's the opposite of what happened on Mike Norvell against the Alabama game. There were a lot of FSU fans that were, thinking we need to move on from Norvell, and then he got the fans back on the train. And this one, I think, is opposite. People are jumping off the train after this one. To me, the craziest thing was no emotion or fire from Billy on the sideline. They kept showing him, and he was just standing there with no emotion. If I was a head coach, I would be screaming. I'd be showing some firefight. I guess the team reflected his emotion. I want to move off of that.
If I could just add on to that point real quick, you're talking about no emotion. They had, I think, 2 scores called back because of penalties. Like, as a head coach, you need to be fired up and, like, get onto your team about that. Because, like Brandon said, like, they lost all their momentum. Like, when you get scores just called back, you have no drive to keep going out there. So, yeah, I think Napier needs to have a little bit more emotion on the sideline.
Yeah, and a telling takeaway for me, too, was watching his post-game interview. I love the Gator media guys. They asked, like, some really bold questions, but the guy asked him, do you think you're the right guy for the job at UF? And I thought, every coach, when you answer that, you're going to say yes, and here's why. He didn't answer the question. He didn't even say, yes, I'm the right guy for the job. He just deflected the question and gave coach speak and didn't give an answer. So if I'm a recruit and I'm seeing this and that question's asked and that's an answer, I'm very concerned about the program moving forward. I think they're going to have to move on for him this year. So would have preferred to have some Gators on here this week to talk about this. So for the rest of the show, we'll talk about Florida State and Miami stuff, but did need to address that because it's just one of the biggest stories of the college football season. So going on to Florida State and Miami, we had, huge week 1s for both teams. Miami got a huge win over a top 10 Notre Dame team. Florida State got a huge win over a top 10 Alabama team. And then we both had cupcake wins where we won easily, and both teams looked really good this past week 2. So after taking in the results so far, guys, I want to start with you, Chris. Looking ahead to October 4th, Florida State versus Miami. Who do you have winning that game? By how much? And why do you have that result?
So I think my opinion as of right now might be different after 2 weeks because USF is hot right now. You have no idea how that game will play out next week. I'm assuming it'll probably be close till mid-third quarter, late third quarter. You have no idea. But let's say we take care of USF, we take care of UF. I will have UM favored, but if you look at the past games between UM and FSU, it rarely happens when it's a massive blowout, no matter how much better UM is or Florida State is. Like, Florida State could be a top 5 team in the nation. You won't be unranked. That game is a 1-score game. Like, that's just how those games normally go. But let's say if both teams win out, everything goes well, no injuries, I'll have UM by 3-7 in that game.
Kevin, what about you? After seeing Miami, seeing Florida State, who do you think comes out victorious? And By how much?
Yeah, so I think with it being in Tallahassee this year is definitely going to help us out. Strangely, I'm rooting for Miami for these next two games because I want Florida State to be the one that they slip and drop. I don't want that to be against USF where they have that, we normally see it late November, but that one game where they just shouldn't lose it and they do. I'm hoping they come in with a lot of confidence and then we can shock them in Tallahassee like we did with Bama. But I don't know, after seeing Florida State the way we're playing, the energy the team has, I'm thinking it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to say 38-31 FSU wins just because I want a high score and exciting game and to really keep Florida energized with football in the state. So I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. I was not looking forward to it before the Alabama game, but now I'm really looking forward to this season.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kevin. If Miami continues to win, it's going to drive more hype for this game, and it's going to bring College Game Day back to Tallahassee. And it's been a little while since College Game Day was in Tallahassee, so that'd be cool if that happened. And there's rumblings of Lee Corso coming back to being honored at halftime or something like that. So we'll see. Brandon, obviously you went to Florida State. You know a lot about the Florida State program, but you're a diehard Cane, always have been. So you know both these programs very well. What's your take on this October 4th game, and how do you see it playing out and why?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought this up, Christian. I think that this game has the potential to be, the most anticipated FSU matchup that we've had in, 10 years, 5 years. Top 15 matchups, going on the road over to Doak, it's definitely going to be a tough matchup. Like Chris said, it's always a close game regardless of, where the teams are ranked. Any team can really pull off the win. I do think though, and if we kind of level set a little bit with the expectations of the FSU team, in recent years or recent weeks, honestly, they had a great week 1 win, but this is still a team that won 2 wins last year. And I think that there's still some steps that they need to take before, they kind of upset and take down the Canes. I think if I had a prediction, I'd probably go with 28-24 and a close win for the Canes. But yeah, I just think that the Canes roster is a lot more developed. I think it's more talented. We'll see how long this Gus Malzahn offense can keep them going. If teams start to pick up on the little trick plays that they have. But yeah, I would say that the Canes pull it off.
Noah, do you agree with Brandon?
No, completely disagree. I don't know why he brings up Gus. Like, you gotta trust this guy. I mean, the fact that he put up 77 points, obviously it's a cupcake, but
It's a community college.
we would have never done that last year with this team. I mean, it's a completely different team, and you just gotta trust the guy. He's drawing it up. He shows that we can pass downfield, we can run the ball. If you look at the stats yesterday, obviously it's a cupcake, but it's evenly spread. 360 yards passing, 360 yards rushing, over 700 yards. You love to see it. But as far as the game, the game, I think it'll be close, but I think it's going to come down to coaching. And, I'm taking Mike, Gus, and Tony White over Mario any day of the week. So, you just, when you get to late game situations, you don't know what Mario's going to do, if he's going to call timeout or not. So just like you have to worry about that. But I think it'll be a close one. But just loving the way that this team is playing, the energy around the program. It's a great sight to see, and I think that we're going to take Miami in a close one. I'm going to say 7 to 10 point victory.
Yeah, and just to kind of chime in there on the Gus Malzahn, I guess, hate. Like, let's not forget that this is a guy that flip-flop play calling duties multiple times during his run at UCF. 4-8 last year, 6-7 the year before. There's reasons to question him, and I think as FSU's come off to a hot start these first 2 weeks, but I think teams will start to adjust. And I worry that he showed too much of the playbook, putting up 77 against a community college. Like, is it really worth it, or or is he just giving more ammunition to teams to be able to counter that later on in the year?
I want to chime in on that point because Brandon seems to be bringing up records to say that we're not going to have any shot against Miami. I'm going to go back to an old Noah quote. In Mike we trust, and I have kept that mentality throughout Mike's head coaching tenure. And the 77 on a community college, like, I was there the whole game, and our third string quarterback was just throwing bombs down the field. Like, it wasn't trickery after halftime. Like, we were just putting up big numbers against a team that we should put up big numbers against. So I think that the reason we scored 77 is because the coaches knew that, hey, our fans need to see that we will put up 77 at community college just because we can. So I was happy to see that personally. And there wasn't a lot of trickery in the second half.
And it's not like you got the third, fourth string guys in there and they're not holding the same standard as the first string. I mean, we're getting down the field with those fourth string guys and just, the offense is just rolling and it's just impressive to see. And Gus, he just wants to call plays. He just wants to run the offense. He doesn't need to be the leader of men. He doesn't need to be the head coach. Leave that to Mike, and Mike is just going to let Gus run the playbook. And it's been a great combination. So we'll see how it continues. Gotta get through, the next two games. Virginia
real
on the
tough.
road.
Real
Virginia
tough
on the
going.
road is going to be a test, but October 4th is what we're all waiting for.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought up this debate. Like, how much value can we put in this cupcake win, 77-3? I see Brandon's point. You see teams all across the country. I think UCF won like 69-0 last night. So I see the point of you can't take a lot of stock out of the cupcake win, but at the same time, I also see that like the Florida State team last year and some of the other teams in the last few years would not have played as dominant even against a terrible team. So you can gather a little bit from it, but I don't think it changes my outlook on the season very much. It shows to me that they're on track of doing what they should be doing. Oh, you brought up the coaching, and this is the next topic I want to get into. There's a lot of debate about Mario Cristobal versus Mike Norvell, who's the better head coach. And I want to start with you, Noah, because you started it, and we'll get everyone else's take. But in your opinion, who's the better head coach, Mario or Mike, and why?
I think it's pretty clear as far as, well, obviously I'm biased, but I think as far as in-game like coaching, I'm taking Mike, and as far as being like the leader of the team, his leadership style, I'm taking Mike. Obviously, recruiting wise, Mario has outplayed Mike in these past few years, so he's got him on that. But as far as just what we're seeing on the field, I'm taking Mike, and he just fires you up. You look at Mario, it's just, I don't know. You listen to the guy talk, it's kind of deflating. He's got the man boobs, it's just like, yeah, how does this guy fire you up? But Mike, I mean, just makes you want to run through a brick wall. And yeah, I'm taking him any day of the week. And my college pick'em name this year, I ran it back with Mike got us. I've had that saying since 2022, since we beat LSU on the road. I have faith in him. There's a lot of question marks before the season, and he's proven that he can do it. And he talks about this standard of the work that goes in, and he knows what it looks like. I mean, he's showing it right now, these first two games, and I believe he has it in him to sustain this and be consistent with it. So we'll just have to see with the recruiting and pick that up a little bit. But other than that, I think he's got Mario beat pretty easily.
Brandon, what do you think about what Noah said, and do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think you brought up some very valid points. I think if you're looking at someone to motivate your team for a season or for a game, I think that Mike is that guy. But when he walks into a room, and I worked at FSU on the recruiting team for a little bit, and everybody just listens when he speaks, and he definitely commands a room. So I think that he is a great in-game coach, and I think that he's definitely got Mario beat there. But if you're looking for somebody to build a program and overall build a dynasty type program, I think that Mario's definitely got the skill set and the pieces to do that way more than Mike does. From his charismatic, I think, personality, and just the way how he owns Miami and kind of cultivates the culture that Miami breathes, I think that he's the perfect guy for the team. And I think long term, he's building it with the right pieces. He's recruiting well. He's selling to South Florida to keep the crib home, and I think that kids are really starting to buy in. And I think that he's the right coach to lead over FSU, I would say, for the long run of the.
Just
So
one
you think he's
point.
a better coach than Mike?
I think he's
Better head coach.
I think he's a better head coach for like a program that's trying to build long term. I think it's hard to say with his lapses, and I think even in the Notre Dame game, he played a little bit conservative instead of going hard to the wall. So I think it's hard to say that in game he's a better coach than Mike. I think Mike's a little bit more calm, and he understands the situations a little bit better. But I think if you're talking overall skill sets that you would need as a head coach to build a program, I'm going with Mario.
I was just gonna say real
Okay.
quick on that, just real quick.
Yeah.
You know, like if he's the guy to build a dynasty with, and he's that guy, how do you not make the playoff last year? How do you lose the Pop Tart Bowl when you have the best offense in the country, the best quarterback of the country, the number one pick? I feel like that just has to come down to coaching, and to not even get to the playoff is kind of head scratching, given the number one offense in the country. But that's all I'll say.
I agree. I agree with a lot of what Brandon said about the long-term building, the recruiting, the talent acquisition. There's not a better person in the business that's better at talent acquisition and recruiting. But also there's the other side. Noah brought up a great point of you have the number one offense in the country last year. You have the number one quarterback in the country. Historically, the number one offense always goes deep and makes a deep run, and they fell short. Now, a lot of that was on the defensive coordinator, which they got rid of. So, Kevin, want to get your take on Mike versus Mario as a head coach overall, not specifically game day, not specifically recruiting, just as a head coach. Who do you think's the better head coach?
Well, I mean, I'm obviously going to take Mike, just because, FSU through and through. But I do like that Mike wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's going to be as emotional with this 74-point win as a 3-point loss. Like you're going to know how he's feeling. And I like that. I like when the coach shows his emotions and you can see the team reflect that. I think a contrast with like Mike and Mario is that my thing with Mario is that, he's done a great job bringing Miami back into relevance. Obviously, everyone talks about the recruiting, but I don't trust him to win the weird games, those Virginia Tech on a Friday night away. Like, those games, I'm worried he's going to drop. Mike, I feel like at the beginning of the season, the team he's built. Last year, I saw in the beginning, he did not have the team together. This was not the team to do it. They were not cohesive. This year, they look cohesive. They're all happy on the sidelines. Obviously, the momentum's really good right now, so that's easy to keep that going. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to take Mike over the long haul of an entire season because I just don't trust Mario to win that one game you need that's going to keep you out or in of the college football playoff. And so, for that reason, I'm gonna stick with Mike. I think he's ridden the highs and lows well here in Florida State, and I'm stuck with him. I'm happy.
What's your take on the Mario versus Mike debate?
Okay, so obviously, young guy through and through. I'm going to take my guy Mario, but I'm going to agree on something what Kevin said here is that I have more confidence in Mario for a big game at home or a big game away, than to win at Pitt, to win at Vol Tech. You saw it last season at Georgia Tech. You see it last season at Syracuse. You beat Syracuse, you're in the playoff, no matter what. And again, you saw it. My biggest issue with Mario is the in-game. You saw it versus Notre Dame. Right before we kicked that game-winning field goal, it was 3rd and 5. We ran the ball. Notre Dame had one timeout left. They called it. They panned it to Mario, and then he was like, what? Like, he had no idea that they had
no idea they had a timeout
left.
Yeah.
That's my only thing with Mario is that in the long term, he has the ability to build a roster that can win a natty. But what will hold him back is when you're up by 10 to 14 points in the second half, he'll get too conservative. He'll kind of lose his head. When he has the chance to end the game, go score a touchdown, he chooses no. Let's run the clock out, 5-8 minutes, punt the ball, and play defense, which I'm not a fan of. I'm more a fan of if you have a chance to kill, you go. That's the only thing that holds him back. That's where Mike has him beat, but everywhere else across the board, I will take Mario.
So, Chris, I want to stick with you on the next topic. I want to talk about what question marks you may have about Florida State. Obviously, they had a big win, in week 1 versus Alabama. But just looking at the team, I know Brandon brought up the Gus Malzahn gimmicky offense a little bit, but what question marks do you have about Florida State as far as not just in the Miami game, but just for the whole season moving forward about the ability to continue to win and have a great season?
I would put the question mark just maybe on experience because obviously, just be Bama. Great win. Awesome. But you have a QB in Thomas, who obviously he played great, but he played at BC before. Later down in the season, when you have those big games, if you have a chance to make a playoff or whatever, how will he handle those games later down the season where it's you win or you're going home, you're done? Obviously, you saw versus Bama, they have talent, they have coaching, but I would put the big game experience on Thomas as a question mark, even though so far he's passed that quiz, but it wasn't in a situation where if you lose, you're done, you're out. So hopefully I would like to see it because I think in general when is good, when Florida State is good, it's just it makes the sport better. So I want to see Florida State keep on winning besides later down the season if they have a chance to make it in those games when they have to win. I just don't know if he has that big game experience yet. That's where I would put my main. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question mark, and he really did not have to win with his arm in that week one. I think teams are going to try to shut down the run against Florida State and make him beat them with his arm, and he hasn't proven he can do that. So I think that's a legitimate concern, Chris. It's a good point. Noah, when you look at what Miami's done this year, obviously they've had a great win week one, and they looked really good last night. But I know you talked about concerns about Mario, but just as far as the team goes, do you have any concerns about the Hurricanes? And if so, what question marks do you have about them as far as why they may fall short this season?
Yeah, I think so. Before the season started, I predicted them at the highest record in the state out of all my predictions at 9-3. I think they'll still get to that point. I think they've looked good. I think Beck has looked good. You know, they're getting those freshmen involved. That wide receiver, Tony's, looks electric. I mean, I think the offense is going to be good throughout the rest of the season. The defense, not sure yet. I mean, that's probably the biggest question mark is if the defense can hold up and win those road games at the end of the season. But I mean, I think they're going to be a solid team throughout the year. I think it's just going to come down to those games where it's, late fourth quarter, coaching decisions, what's going to happen. Can Mario win those games? I don't know. But no, I think the offense will be solid. I'm just not sure if the defense, it definitely has to be better than last year. But we'll see if they can sustain that throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and so far they've looked very much improved from last year, the Miami defense. I will say last year, the defense started really good in Gainesville when they blew out Florida. The defense looked elite. And then as the year went on, injuries, and they got worse and worse as the year went on. But I think the Heatherman defensive coordinator is a lot better than Guidry. They did give up some pass yards to CJ Carr as a first-time quarterback. But overall, I think the defense has looked really well so far. So if they can continue the defense at this level, they're going to be tough to beat. Brandon, when you look at the Florida State team, I know you brought up some question marks about the Gus offense and defensive coordinators being able to figure out some of the gimmicky plays and things like that. But is that your major concern about the Florida State team, or do you have any other concerns about the team as far as why they may not have a great season this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a big concern of mine for FSU. I think you look at what Mike looks like or FSU without good coordinators, you get a 2-10 season. So I think right now the hires are looking good. I think that the program's definitely on an upward trajectory of where everyone else saw that they would finish. But I think another big concern, and I guess it could come into really, the hires and Mike overall. And it could be a huge concern for them. This is a guy, Tommy's looked great for them, and Chris kind of chimed in on it. But, this is a guy who quit on his team at BC 6 weeks into the year. Mike went in week one of the portal and signed this guy. He is a great fit for the program, and we're seeing that right now. But who knows that the situation arises, things go bad between him and Mike, and he's out quitting on the team again. So I think there's question marks around leadership. He's looked great so far, and you see him really passionate with the team and the fans and everything. But who knows that he might quit on the team eventually again, like he did over there at BC, which would be really detrimental. He's really the whole team right now. The Kickstarter for it. I think you touched on it as well, Christian. The limits in terms of passing. They haven't had a game where he's had to throw more than 14 times. So when they have a game where they're down and they have to really test his arm, is that going to be a limit for that FSU offense when teams start to stack the box against them and figure out hey, this team's, not going to be throwing the ball that much. I think it could be a cause of concern for them.
Yeah, no, those are all really good points. Kevin, when you look at the Miami team, what concerns, if any, do you have? I know you brought up you don't trust Mario as a game day coach. Beyond that, do you have any other concerns about Miami? There's high expectations. Obviously, the fans expect them to go 10-2, 11-1 this year, and I haven't gotten your preseason prediction. Do you see them reaching that 10-2, 11-1 mark? And if not, why do you think they'll fall short?
Yeah, I think they definitely could. Kind of going off Noah's point, I think the biggest concern for me is the defense. And I didn't get to watch Miami's game yesterday, so I'm thinking of their Notre Dame game. They had a good lead in, I want to say, the third or fourth. And then the coaching started pulling back the offense, slowing it down, and then the defense decided that they're going to rest also, and that's when Notre Dame made it close. So for me, it's that like the coaching impacting the defense on the whole game. Can they keep that defensive pressure? Because once the defense locked back in, they held them and they played great. But just for those couple drives, they kind of got lackluster, and Notre Dame was able to score. So I think for me, it's just like, can they put together a whole solid game? And if they can do that consistently, then yeah, they're easily going to go 10-2, 11-1. Like they do have a really good team, but then it also makes me worry because of the defense. Carson Beck was really good at Georgia because Georgia is a defense dominant team. Will that be the same for Miami? I would say no based on Miami's history, but hopefully maybe their defense is better this year and they can kind of bail him out if they ever need to. And then, so yeah,
Okay.
I didn't really do a preseason score record for them, but yeah, I think 10-2 kind of sounds about right for them.
Okay, so the next segment we're gonna do is the rapid fire segment. So the first question, we'll start with you, Kevin. More impressive win, FSU beating Bama by 14 or Miami beating Notre Dame by 3?
I mean, obviously, I want to say FSU just coming off of that 2-10 season last year. I think that turnaround, I didn't get to go to the game, but everybody I talked to, they said the atmosphere was amazing. Like it felt like Florida State football again. So I think just for what it did for our program as a whole, I think it was a bigger impact because it kind of restarted us. I think for Miami, it was kind of just like, yeah, for Miami's expectations, you needed to win that. 3 points is a solid win against a really good Notre Dame team that was in the championship last year. So like not taking away from their win, but I think for what it did for our program restarting us, it's a more impressive win than Miami taking care of business at home like they should have.
Gotcha. So Brandon, more impressive win, FSU beating Bama or Miami beating Notre Dame?
Yeah, I'd say I'd lean with FSU for all the reasons Kevin said, just kickstarting the program after a 2-10 season. There's definitely unexpected win for sure.
Noah?
Easy. Florida State, I mean, dominated the trenches. Bama had the most talented roster going into the season. It's a clear answer. Dominated Florida State.
Chris?
Miami. Florida State had no pressure to win that game. Miami had all the pressure to win that game. Nobody expected Florida State to win. Nobody.
That's a good point. That they didn't have to deal with the pressure of it being expected to win, which they're going to have to now deal with moving forward. All right, next rapid fire. In 13 days, UM and UF will play at Miami. UM destroyed UF last year. The game was not competitive, but it also had Cam Ward. But obviously, Beck looks like he's filling those shoes nicely. Chris, we'll start with you. Who wins the UM-UF game in 13 days and by how much?
Miami by 14 or more.
Wow. Noah?
Miami in a close one. I mean, Lagway looks like DJU, so I mean, shouldn't be that hard of a win.
Lagalele. Brandon?
Yeah, I think the Canes pull it off. I think that UF will come out hungry for revenge after what we did to them last year. But I think that the Canes pull it off by 7.
Kevin?
I'll say Canes by 10. I think they can do it.
Okay, sticking with you, Kevin. Your current rankings. So you have to rank Florida State, Miami, and Florida in terms of, as of right now, this moment in time, where the programs are. What's your big 3 ranking as of right now?
To be honest, I got to put UM first. I think that they, carrying on from last year, they got to go first. But then Florida State, then UF, just because of the way UF just lost and our big win over Bama. So
Brandon?
Yeah, I think UM is a clear choice right now at the top. I think FSU's having a great season. Definitely will slot them in at number 2. If I can, I'd put USF at 3, but if
Oh,
not,
yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
yeah. I
Go
mean, they
Bulls.
actually look like a real competitor. Their quarterback just looks like a beast. So I think that they could cause some problems for you next
Yeah.
week, but we'll see.
Yeah, and they'll be ranked this week. And
For
we
sure.
really also haven't seen UCF yet because they've had 2 cupcake games. So we'll see once UCF's Big 12 schedule gets going. But Noah, what's your current, if you were just to rank those 3 schools right now, how would you rank them?
Just based off of the momentum that Florida State has right now and just the fire and the team and just the culture that you see, I mean, I'm gonna put them at 1, and then UM
Wow.
and UF.
Bold take. Bold take.
He doesn't believe me.
Chris, I assume you disagree with that, Chris.
Yeah, it's UM, it's Florida State, and UF is down in the dumps.
Okay, Chris, we'll stick with you. Does Miami make the playoffs this year?
100%, yes.
Why? Quickly.
Different team, better defense. Crazy to say. I like this offense more than last year because we're more of a pro-style offense, more ground and pound in there. I like it more. And I think that is a better fit to play the bigger teams than what we had last year. And I love Cam Ward, but
Wow, that's a bold statement. He likes the offense better than last year. Noah, does Miami make the playoff this year?
I'm gonna say I think they'll go 9-3, and
losses.
I think
Then
that
they won't
they'll.
make the playoff
I
because they're not.
think
You can't make. You
I
can't make the playoff at 9-3 in the ACC.
I think they're just gonna lose a game they should win. That's gonna kick them out, just like last
3
year.
of them?
3 games, yes. I'll pull up the schedule. Let's see.
Brandon, I think I gotta
Oh, no.
assume you're gonna disagree with Noah on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say that they're going to make the playoffs. I think it really relies on them making that big step of winning an ACC championship. I think there's a shot that they make it without it, but I think it's a good year. Clemson looks really shaky. Week 1 loss where they were
Yeah.
at home and only put up 10 points. Granted, it is LSU, but last week or this weekend, down at half against Troy. I think the ACC is wide open and FSU's chances are higher than more people expect. But I still think that UM is probably the favorite to pull it off, and I think it would be a huge step for the program just to finally get over that hump. But we'll see.
Kevin, does Miami make the playoff?
I'm going to say no because they're going to lose the ACC championship. I don't know against who, but they're going to get there. They're going to be hyped up, and then they're going to lose it and be out.
Kevin, we'll stay with you. Does FSU make the playoff?
No, I don't see that happening. I would hope. I'd love it, but I don't see it.
Brandon, does FSU make the playoff?
No, I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit. I just don't see the hype just yet. I think they've got a good program, but it's a little too hyped to talk about college football playoff hypes. You guys were worried about bowl game eligibility, so let's calm down here.
No, that's a fair point. It was only 1 game, and it's hard to get that A logo just out of your brain because in the last 15 years they've just dominated the sport. So I think that's a good point. It could brainwash some fans a little bit. But Noah, do you think Florida State makes the playoffs?
It's a bold take, but I'm gonna ride with my guys. I just don't see them stopping him, Tommy Castellanos. So yeah, I think we'll get in. I think if the team can continue to play at this standard and stay consistent and win the big games, I just don't see them stopping him.
Chris, do you agree with Noah about FSU making the playoffs?
No, they have a chance. I'm not going to say completely like no, dead no, but as of right now, no. Way too early to tell.
Okay, Chris, we'll stick with you. In 10 years, which conference will Miami be in and which conference will Florida State be in?
Florida State, probably be in the SEC. Miami, probably say, hopefully SEC, if not, Big Ten.
Noah?
I'll say both in the Big Ten. I would like to see them stay together, keep the rivalry going. So I'm hopeful that it would be the same conference, Big Ten.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think I would love to see them in the SEC. Not too sure if it would really happen, but I think with a lot of programs kind of shifting to these big conferences, I think it's the Big 10 or Big 12 that's got 24 teams or something crazy like that. I think the SEC could look at expanding and adding more teams from the ACC, like Clemson or whatnot, and it would make sense geographically. So we'll see. I think I'll go with that pick. Florida might block it though.
Okay. And Kevin?
You know what? In 10 years' time, I'm going to predict the 70-team super conference that Nick Saban's been talking about. I think that would be kind of cool to see. But in a more realistic sense, FSU, SEC, Big Ten.
Okay, next segment is still part of the rapid fire. It's the rival coach segment. I know we talked a lot about Mario versus Mike, but traditionally, as a fan, when you look at your rival coach, if you think he's really good for the program, you probably want him to go because, it hurts your program if he's doing well. And then if you think he's terrible, you want him to stay. So don't give the answer of, we want both programs to do well kind of thing. It's just looking at it from your perspective. So, Chris, looking at it from the Miami perspective, do you want Norvell to stay or go as far as like how it will impact Miami?
I want him to stay. From what I've seen, of course, he went undefeated in that 1 year, but I just don't see Florida State returning to what they were with Jimbo under him.
Noah, do you want Mario to stay or go?
Yeah, keep him there forever. Keep him. I mean, just based off of his coaching decisions, I mean, I'd like to see him on the field for a long time. And the same with, I don't know if we're going to get to it, but Nape. I hope Billy stays as well.
Well, yeah, let's add Nape to this. So, Chris, what's your answer on Nape? Stay or go?
Lifetime contract. Keep him there the whole way.
All right, Brandon. So, Nape and Mike, stay or go?
Yeah, I think keep both of them. I think Mario's the king of Florida in terms of recruiting. And for all those reasons, making a dynasty, I think it makes sense to keep Mario and keep the talent local at Another thing, I can't name two players from a high school recruiting class that Mike has developed and they've been drafted. It's just like non-existent. So I think it would just make sense for
Kevin, do you want Mario to stay or go? And then what about Nate?
Yeah, I like Napier being there because I don't have to worry about UF as much. So that's nice. And I'll keep Mario there too because they talk about his recruiting. You can recruit all the best players in the world, but unless you can coach them to a championship, doesn't really matter. So keep him there and he can keep losing those one-off games and just not do anything.
All right. So we all want all our coaches to stay. So let's just keep things how they are. Kevin, let's stay with you. What would you say is the top new young player on Florida State on offense? Give me one on offense and one on defense as far as like top new player for the team, like young freshman or redshirt freshman.
Yeah, so I mean, I really loved obviously Deuce Robinson coming out, making a big game this past game. It's really and then watching his press conference afterwards, just his excitement for the team was really good to see. I can't remember his name, but he's number 10 on defense. I think he's a D end. I just like his hustle. He really gets after it. I saw him make a couple good plays against Alabama, and then early on in last game, he just did a good job.
Brandon, top new young player for Miami, one offense, one defense.
I would say obviously for offense, it's got to be the receivers from the transfer in Keelan Marion and Malachi Tony. The wide receiver room was probably the biggest question mark for the team, and they really, really blossomed. Another one that, a young player that's kind of blossomed as well is Justin Scott, the defensive tackle. He had a forced fumble in that Notre Dame game, and overall has just looked dominant in his first couple years, first couple games. He was a 5-star. He really didn't play much last year, and he's really coming into his own this year. So excited for him.
Noah, top new young player, one on offense, one on defense for Florida State.
I would say defense or a little. I think he was with the team last year, but he is just, he hits so hard. He just looks like a guy that's going to play on Sundays. Him, and then on offense, Deuce did come out. That was fun to see. But, you got to take Tommy. He's just the leader of the team. But as far as the running back room, it's stacked. Just guys that look like NFL talent. So I'd say on offense, I just got to go with my guy, Tommy.
Chris, top one defense, one offense, and top newcomer for Miami.
Defense, for sure, Scott. Massive game versus Notre Dame. He was amazing. Offense, it's Malachi Tony. No question. 3 to 4-star ranking in high school, comes in. Best player on the offense, it's undoubtedly him.
Yeah, at 17 years old as well. Just, the amount of targets that he's been peppered. It just shows that he's really built a relationship with his staff at such a short amount of time. He was there for basically like a summer, and he's completely, going to shock, I think, a lot of the records at if he stays, all 3 years.
Yeah, I agree on Tony. He grew up in Miami. I grew up going to the Orange Bowl, and I remember watching Santana Moss at Miami in the Orange Bowl. And I know that's a big comparison, but the way he plays the game kind of reminds me of Santana Moss. I'm not saying he's going to be Santana Moss, but I mean, he's
No,
got the it factor.
if I'm sorry to cut you off, if I could put money on it, he's gonna go down. If he stays for 3 to 4 years, he's gonna go down as one of the best players in the history of that program.
Yeah, I could definitely see it for at least the wide receiver rooms. Like, I think he could break a ton of records there.
Yeah.
All right. And then, Chris, we'll stay with you. Worst loss to Florida State in your lifetime?
Oh, 4th and 15. That was
Fourth
really
and
bad.
14.
Yeah.
14. That's how bad. Horrible it was. No, that was detrimental to me. That was very bad. That was very bad.
Noah, worst loss to Miami in your lifetime?
Trying to think. I mean, when was the last blowout loss?
2020 and yeah, 2020 and last year was a bit of a blowout as well. 2020, I
Yeah.
think Miami won like 45-10 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
mean
COVID year.
those hurt a lot more, but I think that was my freshman year and started out freshman and sophomore year with losses. So I mean that kind of hurt, but then junior, senior year got it back together. But yeah, I'd go with that.
Brandon, worst loss to Florida State that you can remember?
Yeah, I think it's got to be that badly missed extra point or blocked extra point. We go down the field, we
Block at the
score a
rock.
touchdown, and I just thought we were back in the game, and yeah, that kind of just ripped my heart out right there.
Block at the rock 2016. DeMarcus Walker got the block on that. Kevin, worst loss to Miami that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, last year wasn't fun, but I've also blocked out the entire last season from my memory. So I'd probably go with Noah's answer of the 2020 loss. That wasn't a fun one to sit through.
Can I hop
Okay.
in real quick? For Florida State, I was expecting you guys to say the loss in 2017, Doak, when Halik Rozier drove down the field
Langwin?
last play of the game to Langham. So
Daryl Langham? Yep.
that's the one that ended the long winning streak for Florida State.
Yeah. I think it was a 7-game winning streak, and
Yeah.
it was the first time Jimbo lost to Miami also.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one definitely stung. I'm a little bit older than you guys, so my worst loss was 2002. Florida State, I think it was a top 10 matchup. I was 11 years old. It was the first time I was like into the game as a Florida State fan, and they drove down to get the game-winning field goal, and they hit it wide left. And like, I just remember going to school on Monday and being in Miami, all the Canes fans were just giving me crap that whole day and week and year. So that was 2002 was the worst loss for me. And the last rapid fire question, we'll start with you, Chris. Most respected rival player for Florida State, if you could give one on offense and one on defense, the one that you respect the most.
Defense, Earl Little. He's great.
And also, it can be all time. It doesn't have to be
all
this
time?
year's team.
Okay.
All time, yeah.
All time defense has to be Ramsey. From when I can remember, he was phenomenal. Offense, the one that gave me the worst nightmares, Dalvin Cook by a mile.
Noah, most respected Miami player, offense and defense.
I'll just go off of this year's team. On offense, I mean the Malachi Tony. I mean, 17 years old, balling. You gotta respect
That's
that.
all time, like all time.
No. I was just going off of this season.
Yeah, okay.
And then defense, Ruben Bain is a monster, and he's fun to watch. But I'll just go off of the team this year.
But the question is all time, so you got to give your all time. If everyone's giving an all time answer, you got to give your all time answer. Come back to you. You can think about it. Brandon, most respected offensive defense player, one on offense, one on defense for Florida State.
Yeah, I would say for defense, definitely
All
the
time.
obvious one would be Derwin James, and just the impact that he made at Florida State, and what a menace he was to kind of match up against for I feel like this one's kind of a hot take for the offense, but I'd say probably Jordan Travis. Just the impact he made on the program, and when I was at Florida State, Travis was just so respected, and I really think he was pretty instrumental for the organization and the program.
Yeah, those are two great answers. Derwin James, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw it, destroyed Travis Kelce the other night. Picked him up and slammed him. Kevin, your most respected player on offense and defense for Miami of all time.
Yeah, I will say Greg Olson. His highlights were always fun to watch. I'll go Ed Reed because that's the one guy I can picture in my mind actually seeing plays from and stuff like that. But
Yeah. All right, I'll finish it. On defense, Sean Taylor. I mean, he was a monster. So hard. RIP. And then offense, Frank Gore. I mean, just an absolute unit. Played for the Dolphins for a little bit. So yeah, I'll go with those guys.
Yeah, Frank Gore out of Coral Gables High School ended up playing 15 or 16 years in the NFL as a running back. And I looked it up the other day. It was something crazy. Like he had like 15,000 rushing yards in his career. So he's definitely a legend. Those are some great picks there. Well, hey guys, it's a lot of fun. We got to debate Florida State, Miami, Mario, Mike, and in a week where you don't have a lot of big games for the two programs, it was still fun. So thanks for joining, and look forward to having you guys on the next time.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks for having us,
having us.
Christian.
Take care, guys. See ya.